Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
This is why she has to take these burdens on her arms. But after I will be responsible.
Okay, very well. Anyway, today, because of the different events I'm having, my husband is doing the job, so I send all the sentiments to you.
It's not easy. Today it is not easy in Warsaw here.
Exactly.
But I am out of the problem. I left both of them in school, so now I can drive easily to Katowice.
Okay.
Thank you. We will start. Okay, we always try to be very straight to the point and serious with the timing. So welcome everybody. Today we are going to speak about the role of clusters in the next recovery plans and generally speaking the next initiatives across Europe. And we have the testimony of two countries, Poland and Spain. So thank you very much, Beata, Lubos, and Jordi Linares for joining us and sharing with us your knowledge, your perspective, okay? And without more delay, I invite Beata Lubos from the Ministry of Economic Development in Poland to share with us, okay?
Thank you so much, Antonio. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to share what we are doing in Poland. I'm wondering whether I might ask to. Do you have my slides? Probably because I cannot share the screen. Or
I could give you the presentation rights if you want, or
yeah.
I could share your screen, whatever you prefer. Your
okay,
presentation.
So I will try to share, maybe not my inbox.
No, but now we are seeing the.
Here we are.
Perfect.
Okay, so well, developing cluster policy is nothing new, I would say. So it's not from the conceptual point of view a rocket science. However, what I would like to stress today is something new that we decided to go for in Poland. So the presentation is quite, the title is quite general, but devil lies in the details. So please be prepared. What we are trying to do in Poland is to put the cluster policy on two legs. And the first one is quite obvious because we foster on cluster development and obviously on the regular issues like supporting the demand for clusters, for cluster services and building the trust, the cooperation around cluster entities. What is quite vital is that right now, maybe with the use of EU structure funds, but we are double checking it while going into the negotiation period right now. What we are trying to do is to build more, put more emphasis on the capacity building initiatives. One of our observations is that we actually cannot foster a strong innovation and technology policy without investing in several areas. So far, the cluster policy in Poland was extremely demand driven. We actually, apart from several areas like internalization with respect to key national clusters, what we did, we mainly supported the services of clusters and created some sort of a demand for it. But at the end of the day, we realized that if you would like to leapfrog in certain areas, like for instance, climate change, Industry 4.0, digitalization, or for instance, artificial intelligence, it's a no-go for the policy if we regard the investment, investing in new infrastructure, investing in new services, new human resources, and also giving the ability for cluster managers to test the services. Right now, we have quite a nice scheme which will be launched soon, which allows cluster manager to test the service they would like to provide in one of the areas that I will touch upon in a second, the ones who were assigned as pretty important for the development of Polish economy. And the rocket science for us, the one of the most important tasks for us right now, and we'll be very much devoted to it, is to make the synergy effect between the national and regional policies. And I would say this is something that we are lagging behind. What for us is important, that the activities on the national level are extremely synergetic with what's happening on the regional level. And Poland, as a large country with 16 quite independent regional authorities, is the challenge in creating a matrix, who is doing what and who is responsible for what. So at the end of the day, we're supposed to, in a sense, build trust with regional authorities and also take a joint decision about the cluster development. So far, we are observing that the national level was quite devoted to it, but on a regional level, the cluster development was somehow hidden in the whole innovation service provision. So at the end of the day, we didn't see very synergetic efforts. We did also some sort of a little PhD on how to define clusters. And obviously, it's with the public administration, it's always like that, and we start from definitions. However, these definitions were quite needed. You see there, you see on the slide, emerging clusters, growing clusters, and key national clusters. Growing ones are divided into regional and supra-regional. What we actually needed this sort of a matrix for is the clear division of the task between the national and regional authorities. And I hope this will, in a sense, assure the quality of the policy we are going to provide. But real cherry on the cake, because this is what I'm describing at present, I would say is just a structured way of doing cluster policy, maybe with a new flavor to testing and investing in infrastructure, both tangible and intangible, and also skills of human resources, more than expecting from clusters that they will catch up by themselves. The cherry on the cake here is the thing that in certain areas we understood that we can deliver economic policy of the country with the use of clusters. And I remember my endless discussion with the cluster managers and also with Krzysztof before I think I owe a small thank you for inviting me here. So thanks a lot, Krzysztof. We've talked about providing excellent public services. And I would say that we observed that in certain areas, clusters, of course, key national clusters, most probably, but clusters as such developed in a way that they are more privileged to provide certain public services. And I would say that vocational education, for instance, in Industry 4.0 is one of that areas. I would also struggle or stress the capacity of Polish clusters in low carbon economy, and obviously, which was really visible over the crisis, in the area of healthy society and response to the crisis. The issue which I'm extremely happy about, and it was what happened actually over the COVID crisis, was the ability to have a contact with a number of companies working in certain areas and having a quite immediate response with respect to designing, for instance, security or epidemic policy. it was really perfect. And I think that in such a way, clusters validate themselves as reliable partners for the public administration. That's why I think using them in doing policies, different policies, is another way we would like to support cluster development. And of course, see the results of, see more tangible results of our policies. So on the left-hand side here, you have the areas in which we mapped that we can actually use clusters to do what we as the public are supposed to do, and obviously pay for it, which is quite obvious. In our opinion, in Poland, clusters are more developed to provide services than any other service provider in the area of digitalization, Industry 4.0, healthy society, circular economy in a way, in certain areas, low carbon economy as well, with respect to education of the workforce, since they have their hands-on experience and connection with different facilities, and they're more privileged to provide service like Learning Factory. And this is something we are keen and inspired about. Economic promotion, which is happening right now, and I think Krzysztof and the team are doing a lot more for the promotion of Polish economy than any other public institution, which I keep my fingers crossed for. We also use and would like to use more actually clusters as an enterprise discovery tool, while we monitor smart specialization, and would like to devote some of our animation activities also there. And last but not least, we are very much dedicated right now in Poland to create platform economy, to platformize resources. First of all, the services that might be provided, the infrastructure that is actually that might be used by the companies, and clusters are the perfect vehicle to do so. So our ambition to create a platform economy might happen through clusters. First of all, because of the trust that there is around members of the cluster organizations and clusters as such. And second of all, because the networking and platformization is already happening there. So for us, it's a chance to connect different platforms and provide to the companies, which are at the end of the day the key client of the Ministry for Economic Development, which I'm representing, provide them aggregated services and knowledge, in a sense counterfight with the asymmetry of information. And this is something I think we'll be spending our next 5 years on, because this is a long-term process. The tricky issue is that it again requires national region authorities to work together, and sometimes when it comes, for instance, to education, even the mayor of the cities or real municipality or on a very small level, because they, for instance, are responsible for schools, for education in the region. So keep your fingers crossed for us, if I might request that. I would be delighted also to, in a sense, lobby for such an approach on the national level, on the European Commission level. Since I would feel that this is the way the policies might be done in the future in order to really meet the expectations of the companies and also assure quality. So I will stop here. Thank you so much for having me here, and I hope you like it.
You are very, very welcome, Beata. We have liked it a lot, the presentation. It's very comprehensive, and that's a quality that we need to learn in other areas. So wonderful, thank you. And now we will hear the experience from Spain, from Jordi Linares, that is responsible in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism on clusters and other collaborative platforms. Jordi, welcome.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to be here, and well, I think it's been very interesting. The presentation from Poland. Congratulations. Our approach is pretty much the same, but in some terms we are trying to promote, and I will try to explain in the next few minutes the future of our public policies. On the first hand, we've been working more than 10 years in different public policies on clusters. Some of the public here that are Spanish, they might know. We were in 3 stages, or we've done 3 stages. Firstly, we'd like to what we did was create a completely new network of clusters in order to comply and in order to create these clusters and these platforms to promote innovation and promote the different aspects of small and medium enterprises, but also connect the small and medium enterprises with the big enterprises and within clusters. And that's the first stage of what we did 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. Secondly, what we did was try to consolidate the different clusters that were created and try to consolidate these clusters and focus more than creating the structure, focus on projects and try to develop different projects for these clusters and some projects that focus on, of course, on innovation, but also circular economy, industry 4.0, etc. And right now, and thirdly, not right now actually, thirdly, what we try to do is go into excellence, try to focus on national and regional clusters, go into excellence clusters, try to merge clusters, try to create the best clusters what we can do. And sometimes we reduce the number of clusters, but the critical mass of these clusters were and is much more bigger than it was in the past, and that's a really very fast abstract of what we have done in the last 11-12 years in policy clusters in Spain. And that's I think is what's more interesting for us for the next few years. It's what we are going to do in terms of clustering and in terms of projects for clusters in Spain. We've been talking last July with Ulla Engelmann from European Commission to share the different approaches what we'd like to do and how we have learned from Matsukato approach on industrial cluster, industrial strategy, on being a nation, startup nation, but also a nation that could be, or a state that could promote and propose the different programs or the different projects that are for us strategic for our economy. And that's what we are going to do. Right now we have on the one hand we have one registry that allows us to select and promote the excellence of the clusters, demanding different different criteria, trying to select what we have on these different clusters and the critical mass of these clusters within the regional or national economy. And on the other hand, we have several subsidies and several lines for promote and canalize funds to different projects. Some of these projects are experimental, some of these projects are for promoting trade or even promoting innovation with Industry 4.0. But we were until this moment we've been given all the proposals, ideas for the clusters and the companies. And what we'd like to do right now is less projects, bigger projects, and strategic projects. And what does it mean? What we are going to propose is we are going to open calls for projects, for example, aligned with hydrogen, Industry 4.0, circular economy, all these strategic projects that we are going to allow one or different clusters or even a joint venture of clusters to fulfill the project, and having one project maybe in 1, 2, even 3 years, and we can we can analyze the approach of this project, and we can see all the value chain of the project. And I give you an example. For example, we've been talking. I was talking with Zula about this. That, for example, hydrogen is something that really matters, not only with one cluster, but also with maybe 2, 3 different clusters and a huge bunch of companies, from logistics to chemistry to even clusters of automotive, if we are focused on automotive, and what we like is to give or to state a really tangible project or tangible target that these different clusters and these different companies can fulfill, and we are gonna aid these clusters with the lines that we are right now we're given right now, with the different subsidies we are given right now. Why this we are going to open up this new front line? This doesn't mean that we are going to close what we've been doing the last 10 years. We're going to still having the registry, and we are going to still having the different subsidies that we've been on, different projects that we've been giving until this moment. But we are we as the administration, we know what's going on in the different countries in the world, and we know we have to assume the leading point of shaping the future of industry and shaping the future of the industry that at this point maybe is not is not as lucrative as should be, but in the next few years is going to be more lucrative, and we have to we as the administration, we have to fight, and we have to pursue how to align the different actors that play in this field, and try to align in a common objective and a common target for us. For example, this hydrogen project that we've been thinking is starting in a region, in different regions in Spain. A region in Spain, maybe a set of different producers of hydrogen, different logistic companies that use hydrogen, and different factories that can give all the supplies for this different ecosystem. This I give you this example because it's better to, from my point of view, it's better to give tangible examples, and having this this approach instead of having a rational approach, having a more empiric approach, giving examples and try to build the different cluster policies, giving some tangible examples and going down up instead up down. Up down, of course, because we are going to propose this, but the different clusters and the different regions could fulfill these projects that we are going to offer. And that's that's maybe I'm sorry, I have to be so concise because I have a meeting in 5 minutes, but these are the main could be the main differences that we are going to shape in the next future. Firstly, look at back and what we've done in the last 10 years, building a network of clusters, regional and national clusters in all sectors, from logistics to hydrogen, but also automotive, ICTs, etc., agriculture, agri-food, and also on the other hand, what we're going to do and the new approach that we are going to have in the next 4 or 5 years. And if you have any comment or a question, I'm here, and I still have 5 minutes to answer your different questions.
Thank you very much, Jordi, and it's very good news that clusters are increasing the reach and the potential of the projects in Spain. We are all we congratulate you for this approach. Thank you. Yes, as you are only for 5 minutes more with us, is there any question for Jordi between the attendants? Somebody wants to comment?
Yes, I have one question, Antonio. It's Victor Ferreira from Portugal, Cluster Habitat. Hello,
please.
Antonio?
Yes.
Hello?
Victor, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for both speakers for interesting presentations. Very interesting curiosity that I have for Jordi is the following question. I thought it was very interesting to try to mobilize the Spanish clusters for specific subjects in the area. Just a question on how you organize this kind of big projects around hydrogen and or other subjects that you find interesting to mobilize answers. Are these projects thought in terms of the cluster managing authorities as itself as partners, where they have they are the partners of the project and try in a collective action try to sort out between their members what kind of contributes they have for hydrogen or other subject, or are these more a mobilized kind of project where the companies of the clusters are indeed the partners in the project consortium, where trying to tackle solutions for these particular subjects? What kind of
first approach
project are you trying to mobilize?
Yeah, there's something we are still working on, and there's something I hope we can solve in the next I hope in the next few months. Okay, but because there's not only this question and this approach, but there's also the problem of subsidies and public aids, and the problem that we can have problems with the public aids from the European Commission and from the European law, and we need to solve several questions that we are still working on. Definitely, my approach or our approach would be giving the cluster this leading role, because we are going to canalize this project through clusters. But I'm really sorry because I cannot answer you a really concrete question. A really concrete answer right now is that we are still working on this, because there are a lot of things still to solve, and we know what we like to do, but there's something that we have the vision, but right now we have to define the mission, and we have to define, we know what we have to do. We are working on how to do, because we have several constraints, and one is the common law, the European common law, and how to solve all the state aid problems that we have and different questions that, for example, you were asking right now on who is going to lead these projects. And definitely I'd like to be, and I'd like to, our position is having the clusters leading these projects, of course, because we are going to canalize this through clusters.
Yeah, it seems that public aids are indeed an obstacle in many countries to mobilize or to make clusters an interesting governmental instrument for policies. It seems that is something that has to be solved at the European level, this matter of public aids. Thank you very much for your reply.
Thank you very much, Victor. I'm sorry, I have to leave right now. Thank you very much for, Antonio, for this invitation. Thank you very much, Paul, and for your presentation. It's been great, and actually I've been taking some notes, and maybe I contact you, and well, we'll see you next time, Antonio.
You are very, very welcome, Jordi. There are some questions for you, but I will forward them to you by email, and perhaps we could
excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a very good day. I see that perhaps Beata needs to leave soon. I'm sorry to hear that. So we can continue in an open dialogue between ourselves. Okay, no problem. The idea, in fact, is to share references on how the kind of problems that Victor is speaking about are solved on every country, and how or what kind of policy instruments are available for the different regions and nations in order to solve those challenges. Okay, so I think that Beata has left us. Yes, Christoph, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Would you comment on what has been said by Beata? Because you have a strong knowledge of what is happening in Poland, I think, and it would be good to hear your position, your view.
Okay, there was a lot of positive words from her side to Polish clusters, which is always nice to hear for us. But what she mentioned, what she underlined as a main problem for our country regarding clustering policy those days is a lack of proper communication and division of roles between the national government and regions. This is something which didn't work right in this budgetary perspective of European Union. I mean, years 2014, 2020, because when we approach to this to the present budgetary perspective, it was year 2013 when we discussed it. We had also in Poland National Committee for cluster policy, and then our government said that Polish regions should take more responsibility for supporting clusters, for establishing clusters, for financing clusters, because clusters are the core mission of clusters is to support regions in their regional development. And we had a big expectations, we clusters, towards regions. We thought in 2013 that there will be a lot of programs in the regions, while at the same time, or just after, we realized that the level of support from regions for clusters is very, very limited. And afterwards, we analyzed it together with, firstly, inside our cluster community, and then with our government. And today we have still working commission related to new clustering policy for Poland. And this commission made the analysis of the level of support from regions for clusters. And we found out that from 16 Polish regions, only 2 are relatively moderate efficient regarding support for clusters. Rest of 14 regions didn't take this as their real responsibility. So we have today a very specific situation in Poland because during the last 5 years, our Ministry of Economic Development launched a new program, which is a program of support for key national clusters. So this is the group, limited group of clusters in Poland. Today it is 15 clusters. It was in a maximum moment it was 18. Every 3 years, every of those clusters or every cluster could apply for having this certificate from government. And these 15 clusters are being supported directly by the governmental central institutions. And those clusters receive quite good level of support. Maybe not so good as we expected, but at least this is something. The rest of clusters in Poland, especially the group of 50 quite strong regional clusters, they've not received almost nothing in last years. So what is our focus now? Ours, I mean Polish clusters, but also our government, is to convince regions that they made big mistake in last 6-7 years, didn't use cluster as a tool for their regional policy. And that's why we will have the next Polish Clusters Congress, which is annually event, will be organized together with Polish regions and with their strong participation. It will take place middle of October. I hope that at least some of you could participate in this event, if not directly, at least online. And all this new Congress will be devoted for the discussion before the next budgetary perspective and before our regions define final versions of the regional support actions, will be devoted to discussion how much clusters are useful for regions. And that's why I also will ask some of you for your support and to invite for our Congress not only cluster members or cluster managers, but maybe your regional leaders from your regional administration, which is especially from those regions which are especially involved, very active in cluster policy, to share with Polish colleagues why they are involved, why they invest their time, why they invest their money to support clusters. Because that could be the best, I think, they could be the best ambassador of clusters, because from the perspective of Polish regional administration, they are their counterparts from other countries. So they could convince them to do this job, which I observe, for example, in Spain, which I observe in Germany, in Austria, even in Italy. So there are my observations that regions are doing much more in those countries for clusters even than central government, while in Poland we have completely opposite situation. So that's good for us that at least government is with us so close and has so many good warm words about our activity as Beata presented. But the core support for clusters, core business of our tens of clusters should be from regions, which is not the case of Poland. Thank you.
Sorry, you are very welcome, Krzysztof. And first, I want to be with you. I'm willing to be with you next month on your meeting. So, and perhaps we could organize something to also share a session with the rest of the attendants on the morning session. And second, we are dedicating next week specifically to how cluster can participate in the regional strategies. Okay, so I will encourage your participation and to invite your regional authorities also to attend next week. Even this Friday, we will speak about sorry, because the technical name is a partnership of industrial modernization platforms that are related also to the collaboration between regions. And so we are totally aligned with your goals. We need to convince regions or nations in same occasions that clusters can play a key role, a strategic role. Ula, you have been referenced more than once during these past speeches. Would you like to give us your comments?
Yeah. Wait. Yes. Good morning, everybody. And yeah, we of course have because Beata and Jordi are of course members of our cluster expert group, and they are the representatives of the member states. And also within this, we of course have a lot of discussion, particularly now in view of the recovery process. And we are very pleased, and I think these are two members of the expert group which really show that clusters, we go another step, that we go further than what has been maybe for 10 years ago, just getting together to reach out to SMEs. So I think we see here the new thinking, and both have demonstrated at very concrete policy measures how they are planning to do this. And of course, we are in very close discussion with them, because one aim is also to inspire the other member states, if one has a particularly good policy measure, to share it with others. And I think both of them are very good examples in the group. And they have different approaches, like Jordi, who spoke about the entrepreneurial state. So taking decisions on a state level where the state thinks strategic investment should be done, and not only strategic investment in sense of budget, but also in sense of competences. And that also brings this very important dimension of the skills development, what we have discussed in various forms, and which goes hand in hand with competitiveness. But also other areas where also you identify that there is a need to do more, and how you can help this transition. I found also very interesting statement when it was said that we know that clusters are the best the best ones in the area to provide the services. I think this is also something we should build on, and we should take messages from both presentations in order why cluster matter. And this can then help also colleagues who discuss with their national authorities on the arguments why cluster matter. So I think one thing we should do from this meeting today, extract some of the key messages, because I think it can be very useful for all of us. And of course, there was also the discussion on state aid. And of course, for the moment, every day we get consultation on state aid rule changes, because the recovery plans and member state makes a request, and our colleagues in DG Competition are dealing with them. So I think it's not only in the cluster area, it's in many areas where the state aid rules get adapted to the recovery process. So I think it's we see at least once per day coming for one country something in where our opinions are asked for. So our colleagues here in DG Competition have really worked on a lot of changes in the different rules. I mean, some are temporary because it is linked to the recovery. So I think there is a lot going on, and I think it is very important to use what the colleagues have said, get inspired. And one key point, which was mentioned as an issue in Poland, when there was a discussion between what the national authorities having recognized the potential and wanting to use clusters, but then how gets this translated, in this case, in the use of budget structural funds via the regions who have not realized the potential of clusters as a tool for regional policy. And I think, as you said, Antonio, that's why it is we are doing next week the link with a smart specialization, but this is only one, I would say, even little measure. So I think we need to think much more how can we, and like Christoph said, with this national meeting to bring together. But I think what is very good is to bring other regions who are doing it, because it is different whether one regional authority talks to another regional authorities, they are like peers, or when a cluster does, of course, you take it differently. And I think that's why we should probably have our, let's say, maybe look for regions who are champions in fostering cluster policies. Maybe we should create our group of regions of cluster champions, but this just came to my mind as we are speaking. So we definitely need to, it's a very good start next week, but that's only a start. Thank you.
You are very welcome, and it's a wonderful idea. Emma and Jordi, we have here two champions for sure. Will you comment on that? Emma, sorry, or Alberto, Betsy, sorry. Emma Vendrell. Or Alberto.
Hi, Antonio. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. I was having on the background right now, so I didn't hear specifically the question. I know Ula was talking about champions, and then next week there will be a week specifically for smart specialization, but I didn't hear the question. So can you repeat, please?
No, the main idea is that we need to work on involving regional authorities on the cluster policy, to show them our capabilities and to encourage them, help them to implement policy instruments to achieve the goals through clusters. And one idea from Ula was to create some kind of excellent references from those regional champions, okay? And I was saying that you, without doubt, could be one of them, okay? Because
okay, thank you.
But don't worry.
Well, actually, completely subscribe the idea, obviously.
Alberto.
Yes, Antonio, let me jump in. Thank you. Well, I think that the idea of having some policies at regional level is something that is not new. Actually, in Catalonia, we are doing regional cluster policy since 1992. So it's the problem of this is more. I think that well, first to have a continuity in the program, because in the past we have seen a lot of changes in the policy. So there is not in many regions we had discontinuity in cluster policy, and I think that it's very important to have a long-term scenario or in which cluster organization and also the firms that are forming part of this cluster organization, well, have a certain perspective of that this is not something that is linked to a government or to another. So I think it's very important. I think that it's also very good, the idea of having these champions, in the sense that some region could be more excellent in one thing, one of the aspects of cluster policy, and some other could be excellent in another aspect. So to have this exchange of informations and of best practice, I think is very, very powerful element, both at the level of practice of concrete project that some cluster organization can do, or at the level of policy for the governments. And this is, I think, in fact, was a bit what was done 10 years ago with the European Cluster Excellence initiative, and I think there is much more to do on this ground. So very welcome, and I think that well, the program in this sense it will be very, very important for especially in this phase of recovery. But it will be for me very important to stress that this will be focused on excellence of each one of the aspects of cluster policy in the different regions, because in the past we have some pilot experience on policy, but was more on weak aspect of this region. I think that now maybe we can focus on the excellence.
Thank you for your comments, Jordi. I would like to hear questions or comments from the rest of the attendants. The floor is open. Who wants to comment?
Antonio, may I have some comment? Victor again, sorry, to occupy the floor. I think this is a very interesting question. It's something that I hope that this debate on the cluster regional or national level contributions could also be a round table on the European Cluster Conference that will come in November in Berlin. That's an idea I leave to you and Ulla, and who is organizing the conference. I just want to say that independently of the instruments that might exist, we have been cooperating also at regional and national level here in Portugal with the regions. This has been quite an interesting experience since 2012. But I think what we have here, the main restraint still is the questions of public aid and the famous Article 27 that limits the financing to innovation clusters to 50% financing. And if you want to make clusters instrumental, because this public aid concept is based on the issue that we shouldn't affect in some way the market, and if the market is affected by favoring some particular companies or sectors, then we should only be financed at 50%. But indeed, what we have been asking in the last times, and it has been quite evident in this European Cluster Alliance webinars, is an intervention, a contribution to the regional, national, or particularly at the European level in terms of the goals of the major policy. We have been learning about hydrogen, Green Deal, circular economy. So this is something that is not affecting a particular market or markets in terms of a particular sector. So we are making an intervention that is quite global, that is an intervention that favors member state governments and also European Union policies. And so this should be considered to remove clusters from this bond of being or this limitation of a 50% financing, which in most clusters in European clusters, this with their not very extensive or even small structures constitute quite a limiting factor to give what could be an interesting contribute to these European policies at regional, national, or at European level, and so I believe that something should be done about this, because this is a complaint that comes from different member state countries, and it is indeed a limitation, and we are not affecting the market with our intervention, with our contributes. We are indeed expanding the market and giving opportunities to different sectors regarding the main goals of Green Deal, circular economy, sustainability, hydrogen, whatever. So I think this is a question that has to be addressed in the next European Cluster Conference, that has to be addressed with regional, national, or European authorities, because this is indeed the limiting factor for a lot of contributions that clusters indeed can give, and it is being recognized at the European and also national and regional level that this is an important contribution because of this capacity of networking. So the building up capacities in clusters should be taken under other consideration that than the famous Article 27 that limits, because of the public aids, to 50% financing the support that national or regional authorities can give to clusters. And this is indeed the limiting factor at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Victor, for your comment, and we should indeed work on that. Sebastian.
Hello, Antonio. Thank you for great meeting today. I would like to thank you for your work, in fact, because from my point of view, we are one of the key national cluster in Poland, metal processing cluster. We discussed a lot with Krzysztof, with Beata, about opportunities of acting, and in fact we need strong support from European level and also from partners from different countries about our needs and best practice in activism, in fact, because in my opinion, we've got quite strong company at the moment between Ministry of Development, Polish Association of Clusters, but we need wider association with different ministries and different regions. Like Krzysztof said, only 2 regions are at the moment engaged in cluster policy, and also we start discussion about our national recovery plan, and we need in fact strong support from European level, also from European Commission and the European Cluster Alliance, that cluster are really good instrument to support national and regional economy. So I would like also to thank you for a possibility to discuss about our plans, and we are really think for further good cooperation. Thank you.
You are very welcome. We need, I will remember something that we told we spoke about yesterday. We need to list the kind of instruments, programs, goals that different regions or national governments, of course, European institutions, are using to support clusters across Europe. And we need to use those references to encourage our different governments to apply them. Okay, that's a very, very important job for us. What you say, we have a similar situation here in Spain. I need to say that we have a cluster program in the Ministry of Industry, Jordi Linares, okay? But sometimes it's more difficult to go to the Ministry of Economy or the digitalization one or skills. And this is also something that we need to work on to improve, okay?
Yes.
So,
exactly. For example, tomorrow I have discussion with Marshall of my region, and in effect of this discussion, I'm really interested that they will be interested in supporting this idea and show in a wider area. Thank you.
You're welcome. Marek, you are the last one.
Yeah, if I can, thank you, Antonio, and just shortly, in concise way. So what we heard here, in particularly the importance that the National Authority of Poland and Spain recognize extremely important role of clusters in as policy implementers, public policy implementers. And this is in the Polish case as well, recognizing that this is important, and they need to build capacity in order to actually help implementing public policy. And then in the Spanish case, what is important is that actually focus on concrete solutions. So use clusters for public policy implementing in order to reach certain goals. In terms of, in case of Spain, they identified with hydrogen, with automotive, so they worked together. So clusters for public policy implementing, helping them in order to realize concrete goals. And then what Krzysztof was saying, excellent idea, maybe to proliferating in other countries, that you organize congresses where you bring in national level, regional level, public authorities together with clusters. So this initiative we can spread across Europe like they are doing in Poland. So actually raise awareness to the public authorities, public policy officers, what clusters can do. And then the last point, Antonio, you were raising, indeed, actually, all the policy instruments right now being very much developed, discussed at the regional level for what to do. There are concrete policy instruments, and then for this public concrete policy instruments, there is certainly a role to play for each cluster in the region, and this needs to be identified. And from our EU perspective, with Antonio, this is the list of this policy instrument, good examples, which could inspire the other regions, other clusters to start implementing this across Europe. Thank you very much for this session, and we go on. Thanks.
You are very, very welcome, Marek. So we close for today, but you are invited to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have a specific session on the first industrial ecosystem to be analyzed this month. It's construction. In fact, we will have Victor Freira as one of the speakers. There will be others, so I hope to see you soon. To see you tomorrow if you want, with joining us. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Goodbye.